Let me know. Okay, Mayor, we're ready.
Okay. All right. Welcome everybody to our regular board meeting here on Monday, August the 3rd at 1 o'clock by Zoom. Heather, could you call the roll, please?
Director Harris.
Here.
Director Hollebush.
Here.
Director Brewer.
Here.
Barbara Minor will not be present. Director Peavy.
Here.
Assistant Mayor Teeters.
Here.
Mayor Brown.
Here. Okay. Our first item is on the consent agenda. It's approval of the minutes of the regular scheduled meeting of July 20th, 2020. What's the board's desire on the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Stephen Hollebush, second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda passes. Okay, moving right along to our regular agenda. Item number 2 is to adopt a resolution accepting the year-end 2019 audit reports. Finance Director Rhonda Henderson and Cynthia Burns with BKD.
Good afternoon, Mayor Brown, Board Directors, and City Manager Dr. Haskin. Cynthia Burns with BKD will actually give our audit presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to meet with the board again. I know things are a little different in this COVID-19 environment. I'd like to start actually with just really a thank you to Tyranda and her staff and just all of the employees of the city. With us doing this audit 100% remotely, it was more difficult for them, us not being there, able to do our walkthroughs and just all the things that we would normally do while on site. And there was a lot more things that they needed to scan and send to us, and just a lot of changes in this environment. And we really appreciate all the hard work that they did to assist us in making this possible. So just going over the audit, if you'll move to the second page of the presentation.
I'm sorry, I just would announce that Barbara Minor is now present.
Okay.
And there are just a few things.
Excuse me, this is Director Peavy. Were we emailed the presentation earlier, Heather? Am I missing that?
No, ma'am, you were not emailed the presentation. It was part of the package that was online.
Oh,
Whenever
okay.
the notice went out, you should have gotten the email stating that the agenda was posted online.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
So just want to go over a few things with you. The things we normally discuss each year at the conclusion of the audit. Just a brief overview of the objectives of the audit, some required auditor communications and that we're required to have with those in charge of governance, then some 2019 financial highlights, and then some information about your single audit and state compliance. You move to the next page. So basically the objectives of the audit are to provide an opinion on whether the financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects. We also report on the city's compliance with certain laws and regulations under government auditing standards. And then also in that same opinion in that same report, have a report on the internal controls over financial reporting and compliance. There's no opinion with this, but if there were any findings that we would feel like would rise to the level of a significant deficiency or material weakness, those would be reported there. And then issuing a report on the compliance for the major federal award program, and then the internal controls over compliance on that program. And then finally, issuing a report on the city's compliance with certain state laws. So these financials are the responsibility of management, and Tyranda and Sheena and the rest of their team have been very instrumental in the preparation of these financial statements. We assist in that process, mainly maintaining the Word and Excel documents that are used to create the financials. But you know, the information contained in this have all come from the city, and you know, in a lot of cases, you know, they complete those Excel sheets that we drop into that document. And then our responsibility is to express opinions on the financial statements based on our audit. And then we have some required communications that the auditing standards require that we have with the board. They discuss what the auditor's responsibilities are based on the standards. Just our thoughts on your significant accounting policies and practices. If there are any audit adjustments recorded or past adjustments, any judgments, any thoughts that we have about the quality of your accounting principles, and then any difficulties that we may have encountered in performing the audit. On the next sheet, and I would like to congratulate the city for this. They have, I'm not sure now how many years it has been, but for a number of years, they have submitted their audit, their CAFR, to GFOA to be, for them to determine if it meets all the qualifications for their award for excellence in financial reporting. And again, for the 2018 year, they received that certificate, and that document is included in the 2019 CAFR.
Congratulations, Tyranda and your team. This is Director Peavy on that. And we appreciate your hard work, and we appreciate your hard work being recognized, Cynthia, by BKD.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Ditto, Director Peavy. We're stealing my words. I was about to say the same thing. So, and our city finances are in excellent hands, and it is certainly refreshing when we get this award every year. So it's wonderful.
Thank you so much.
This is Director Burr, sentiment likewise.
Thank you.
So moving on now to the 7th page of the material there. Just kind of a brief overview of the things that are included in your comprehensive annual financial report, or CAFR. It is broken down into sections. The introductory section contains the things listed here. Then the financial section has the group of things listed there. The statistical section, which as you're looking at the issued CAFR, I feel like this is something that's very beneficial for the board to look at and to just see. It's a 10-year trend that shows you the various things that you know, the increases and decreases in your revenues, the different types of revenues, whether it's property tax, sales tax, your franchise fees, and your expenses, you know, whether those expenses are for the general government, for the police department, the fire department, other public safety, your streets, you know, it's just a various listing of a large number of things. It's a good information for the board to look over and to just see how the city has done over the last 10 years. And then you have not had a single audit in the last few years. I forget exactly what the last year was. They raised the limit of having to be tested individually for federal awards from 500,000 to 750,000. And this year the city was over that $750,000 threshold. So we have included the single audit testing under the uniform guidance standards with this year's audit. So we've included a schedule of expenditures of federal awards detailing all of the federal awards that the city's received in 2019, and then the report on internal control over financial reporting and compliance, and then the report over compliance for the major federal program and internal control there, and then the schedule of findings and question cost. So in this section, the only thing that you have been having in the last few years is that second bullet point. And then on going to the next page, this just kind of breaks down everything that the city has in their CAFR. You've got your governmental activities and funds that are major, which are made up of your general fund and your public works fund. Your business type activities is the Texarkana water utility information for the Texarkana water utilities, Union utilities, and Mandeville utilities. Then there is a section that is your component units, which is strictly the Arkansas Advertising and Promotion Commission there. And then the rest of your information is aggregated in our testing, the non-major governmental funds, your pension trust funds, and the agency funds. And then part of your audit, and these two items are both included in the investment in joint venture, are audited by other auditors. So the Texarkana Airport Authority and the Texarkana Urban Transit District. And then next, just some very high level highlights. This information is the same that is in the management's discussion and analysis in the front part of the CAFR. It just kind of shows you that your overall total assets went from 65 million to 66 million. The deferred outflows of resources, which are related to the pensions and other post-employment benefits, went from 8.2 to 8.9 million. Then your liabilities went from 60 million to 64 million. And the deferred inflows of resources went from 2.2 million. And that deferred inflows is also related to the pension and OPEB. Went from 2.2 million to 340. The overall total net position of the city went from 11 million to 10 million. Then showed your statement of changes in net position. You can see your total revenues were up about $1.5 million for the year, and expenses were up about $1.3 million for the year. So had a slight decrease in net position before transfers, and then an overall decrease in net position. Then these next couple of sheets just show the various types of revenues, with the numbers in blue being last year's or 2018's numbers, and the numbers in red being the numbers for 2019. And you can see your property tax numbers were higher. The sales tax numbers were a little less. Franchise was a little less. Your charges for services were higher. Operating grants and contributions were higher. But overall, your revenues were up. And then have that same thing, just showing the percentages that each of the different types of revenues make up of your overall revenues. You can see that your sales taxes, charges for services, and property taxes are the bulk of the revenue that the city brings in each year. Then the same information for the expenses there, show the different departments and the 2018 and 2019 expenses, and you can see the changes there. You know, your police and fire were very consistent from year to year. Public works and the general administrative expenses were a little higher. And I think those probably were higher due to the funding that you were receiving for those grants, which is also the reason then why we needed to do a single audit this year. And then you can see then broken down by percentage of the overall spending for the city, how much in your police and fire and public works take up a large percentage of the city's expenses. And then this next sheet here shows the number of days of expenditures based on 19 expenditures that the general fund has in unrestricted fund balance. So it's gone from 112 days in 18 to 135 in 19. And then the next sheets give some information here as the results of the audit. For those reports in that single audit section, very key thing here to note is in the compliance on the major federal programs and your internal control over financial reporting and compliance and other matters based on the audit performed in accordance with government auditing standards, we had no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies to report. And then also on your opinion for the examination of the city's compliance with certain Arkansas state acts, we issued an unmodified opinion on the city's compliance, which is the best opinion that you can receive. We also issued an unmodified opinion on the overall opinion for the city's financial statements. So have very, very clean financials. Again, Tyrone and her team are doing an excellent job. And we did not have any matters that rose to the level of needing to be reported to the board.
Are there any questions from any of the board members for either Cynthia or I?
Oh, I got Lane Harris, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
That I just got a text notice and I know it may apply from the Miller County, and it said that my vehicle tax increased from $24 to $68, and also the property tax, it increased $27. Is that counting in for future finance? Because I know she talked about property tax. And then could she explain what she mean by unmodified opinion?
An unmodified opinion is a clean opinion. It's the best opinion you can receive. It means that there was nothing that would qualify our opinion on the financials, that we are opining that the financials are materially stated.
Okay, thank you.
I think,
And
go ahead.
And as far as the property tax revenue goes, the way that we budget based upon historical information. And so we take a trend over several years in order to project the budget for the future year. So when there are changes in the appraisal values, that is reflected in future year budgets. We will get to see those increases eventually.
If I'm not mistaken, if I remember right, we actually had a problem with the assessor's office and values. And that's why everybody's getting that addendum to what your change in your property taxes, personal property taxes and stuff is going to be, because they had some kind of glitch or something in the assessor's office with values. And they notified every taxpayer, every citizen that you're going to get an adjustment based on having the wrong values. You remember that, Tyronda? Wasn't there something with the county?
I don't remember because they didn't reach out to me directly, but I do know that typically about every 5 years, they do reassess the property, and then there typically has been an increase when the property values are reassessed.
Yeah,
And
just
Mayor, I'm
quickly to add to
remembering
that.
along with,
Just
and Mayor,
quickly
I'm
to add to
remembering.
that, I think we do have an issue. I think it was, Mayor, I think it was a computer glitch. And most of those letters that went out actually are adjustments, and most of them are actually increases.
Yes.
So very
They had the
few-
wrong values in the system.
Yes. Yes. So most of those letters that went out from the county, indicate increases. So yes, if you receive the letter, most likely you're going to receive an increase.
Any other questions? Cynthia, I just have a couple of comments. One, I've been through most of the audit report, certainly not all of it. It's quite lengthy, but I do want to, and I'll email you and Tyronica. I don't want to get into discussion about this, but I see that our biggest change in our net position basically dealt in public works. And you made a couple of comments about that. So I'm still trying to learn governmental accounting. So I would like we can get a better explanation for those changes we made in public works that had a change to our net position from the end of the year on the adjustments that we made, so we can I can better understand how that occurred and what made that occur. But also I want to comment on a finding and recommendation that you have too about cybersecurity. I would like to work with you and have the city manager work with you, and maybe through the municipal league, and let's make sure that we get some things in place for cybersecurity on the recommendation you have in that finding, that we can do some risk assessments and making sure that the city's doing what we need to be doing to protect any information that we might have. But I do appreciate your efforts. Enjoyed working with you this year. Quite different from what we've been accustomed to, for sure. But I appreciate you guys' work, and I appreciate the finance department and Tyronda's department and managing the finances of the city.
Yeah, on that cybersecurity, it is, and especially with this COVID-19 time, it seems like there are even more instances where things can happen. And so it is definitely something to stay on top of and be proactive in making sure that everything is working well and you're protected and don't end up with a huge issue that you're having to deal with later.
Yeah, but I'm assuming you work with cities or municipalities already that have some of that stuff in place, that we can draw on that experience of you and what you look at when you go into these municipalities to make sure that we can do something at least equivalent to what these other cities are doing.
Right. And it's, a lot of times it's just mainly a matter of going through with your IT people and making sure that you have the things in place that you need to have, and just education of your staff to make sure people, you can end up taking down the entire software of a city by clicking on a wrong email. I actually have a city, not in the state of Arkansas, but I have a city that I work with that happened. And it appeared to be a legitimate email. A staff person clicked on that email, and they ended up with like a 2-month disaster where they struggled to keep their accounting going, and all of their whole system. So it is definitely something to stay on top of and make sure that you're doing that education and checking to make sure that your processes are in place like they need to be.
I'm assuming you have some type of audit guide. You could even share that audit guide with Tyronda, so we could start looking at, how many of those things we can answer and can't answer, go from there.
Yeah, I'll take a look and see what we've got. We actually have a separate group out of our Little Rock office that work on that. Our partner over that area is in Little Rock, and I will see what I can get for you from her.
Okay, thank you.
I have one other comment kind of along the same lines with this COVID disaster we're in. I was affected personally by it, as well as another family member, and I know it's happening to several employees. Do we have any issues yet of fraudulent claims for unemployment or Social Security benefits that have been tried against any city employees? I know several places in Texarkana have reported it, and I personally, someone tried to file fraudulently under my name, and they had my Social Security number and everything. So there's the backlog is so huge that the state can't even really deal with them right now. So we need to make sure also that we're really on top of that in case some employees of the city have any fraudulent claims filed in their name.
Yes, ma'am. That is one issue that we're currently dealing with. And we are staying on top of that and watching that very carefully. We have set up strict protocol that we are to follow in case it happens, to the extent that police reports are being filed for each one of those things.
That's
So
what I've been told too. Police report. Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, I've got to go down and file a police report myself. Like I said, It happened to me personally. It's really scary.
Wow.
Well, thanks, Tyronda, for y'all staying on top of that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Cynthia or for Tyronda pertaining to our 2019 audit? If not, George, are you on?
I am.
I would instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the 2019 audit has been prepared, and whereas the audit has been reviewed by the board of directors, and whereas the city manager and staff recommend approval, now therefore be it resolved by the board of directors of the city of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the 2019 audit is accepted, passed, and approved this 3rd day of August 2020.
Okay, you've heard the resolution. What is the board's desire on adopting the resolution?
I make a motion that we adopt the audit.
Director Brewer, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution for the 2019 audit. Could you call the roll, please?
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollebush,
Yes.
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Minor,
Yes.
Director Peavy,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Teeters,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. So the resolution passes. So moving to our next item on the agenda, and that would be citizens communication time. Do we have anyone that wishes to address the board at this time?
Yes, sir. I believe there's 2 people waiting to speak.
Okay.
And
yeah.
If they're wishing to speak, would you please raise your hand and we'll.
All right, I got one.
Who is it?
Mr. Tony.
Mr. Tony McLaughlin would like to speak to the board.
Okay.
All right, loud him in.
Mr. McLaughlin?
How you doing today, sir?
Yes.
I want to try to put my name back on my property on 25 Cleveland Street. They say I'm out of zone, but I heard about.
Muted.
So we're having technical difficulties.
Go ahead, Mr. I can explain what he's talking about if y'all don't mind. He used to have this Lane Harris. He used to have a house, which a trailer house over there on Cleveland Street. Now the ordinance have changed for require modular home, and that's what he's trying to do, put a modular home where it used to be a trailer, a manufactured housing. So, and that's what he's trying to do.
Is he back on, Heather? Or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead and speak with the board.
Yes, sir. I'd like to put my main breaking home back on that property. They said I couldn't because it's out of zone now. But I heard though that you can get petitions and I get put back on there. They did two of them on two blocks for me. I want to put your petition put back on there. Can I do the same thing?
Okay, hey, Kenny, are you still on?
I am, Mayor.
Is this something that we can just get with Public Works and get him an explanation?
That would typically be the proper protocol in respect to this gentleman's request. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir. We'll get with, the city manager, will get with Public Works and see what we can do for you.
Okay, thank you, sir. God
Yes.
bless y'all.
All right. Okay, Heather.
There's somebody else, but I don't know if they're going to speak.
Okay. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board?
Mayor, if not, I would.
Okay.
Okay, this past Friday, I had went and it was over there on this is about the property 811 and maybe 815 Ash. I know I had tried to put this on the agenda back in July the 20 board meeting, but based on the criteria that's in place, that I wouldn't be able to put this on the board agenda. I went over there and I videotaped the guy property and it's still flooding out. And my question is how is this guy gonna be able to get some type of release, resolve and buy this property, because it's steady messing up and its foundation is messing up and it's real bad. And I like I said, and it could be brought up on the agenda based, like I said, based on the criteria in place. And I think that the public works guy got on, even though there was a workshop, but I'm not trying to complain about the workshop because I know they're just another criteria they're put in place just for me. So, but regardless to that fact there, I'm trying to see as to what could be done about the property over there at 811 Ash Street and possibly 815 Ash Street.
I mean, the only thing I can tell you, Director Harris, is we can discuss this. I can discuss this with Dr. Haskin and Tyler and see what kind of issues are actually taking place over there. See what we might can do. But I'm assuming they're aware of this, so we'll just go from there. But I'll look into it for you.
All right, thank you.
Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board? I would just like to make one comment pertaining to the census. We are in a census contest with the Texas side. We are leading by 1%. We've got the month of August. I would just like to ask each of you to encourage everybody, everywhere you see, to see someone, to encourage them to complete the census. We should all understand how beneficial it is to get our census numbers up. Have always been in the 60th percentile. Right now we're at about 56%. The national average is about 67%. It would be great to get in the 70%. So we still have some time to get our 2020 census in, but we are in a contest with the Texas side for the next month. And every opportunity you get to speak about the census, I would hope you would do so.
Mayor, this is Director Peavy. Did you all ever make those public announcements? I know that when we were at the joint city meeting and we were learning about the census and what type of help was going to be available, I believe they said they were going to film radio ads or whatever to push that. Is that happening and I'm just not aware and not hearing them?
We just did another round of those on Thursday, along with a television commercial that will be hitting social media and a number of things, but we just completed that this past Thursday.
Good. All right. Thank you.
Yes. Any other comments?
Oh, Mayor, I just thought of something. I need to ask the city attorney a question, if you don't mind, if he's still on. You know, that Texas side of fire chief is going in negotiation with the, you know, the union. And I don't know if money issue gonna come up, but if money issue come up and it's based on the negotiating with the union, will that affect our fire department here on the Arkansas side?
Our fire department is not a part of that. That's something that has to do with theirs, right? I mean,
Yes,
I'm just peripherally aware of it.
But if they get a pay increase based on the union negotiation, would they affect our fire department, even though we not somewhat based on law, it somewhat cannot be from my understanding, union negotiation as setting pay.
The salaries of the firefighters be set by the board in the budgeting process. And as you're aware, there was a competitive compensation concept that was approved was that October of last year, somewhere about then. And so those would be the relevant ones, I think.
Okay. All right. That just came to my mind. Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Stephen Hollabush, motion to adjourn.
Have a second?
Second, Director Peavy.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. Could you call the roll, please, Heather?
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollabush,
Yes.
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Minor,
Yes.
Director Peavy,
Yes.
Assistant Mayor Teeters,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. So we're adjourned. Our next meeting will be by Zoom. Will be on Monday, August the 17th. We're adjourned. Thank you.